When you think about what makes flying so safe, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's a pilot, right? Meticulously running through a long checklist. Or maybe it's just a mountain of strict rules and regulations. And yeah, you're not wrong. That's a huge part of the picture, but it's not the whole picture. Modern aviation safety has become something way smarter, something much more alive and proactive. We've moved from just following the rules to actively hunting for risk. And today, we're going to unpack exactly how that works. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the old way of doing things versus the new way. Then we'll dive into the new philosophy that drives everything. We'll take a peek inside what we're calling the safety engine, see how it turns a potential problem into a concrete action. And then we'll get into the most important part, the human factor. And finally, we'll pull back and look at the big picture. For the longest time, the approach to safety was, well, pretty straightforward. Just follow the rules. And honestly, that worked pretty well. It was great for preventing accidents that had already happened, but it had one massive blind spot. It brought up a really important question. Is just sticking to a rule book enough to protect us from accidents that haven't happened yet? And the answer, more and more, was a big no. Think about it. You just can't write a rule for every single complex, weird thing that could possibly happen when you mix people, incredibly complex machines, and an ever-changing environment. And this right here, this shows you the huge shift in thinking. The old way was all about compliance. Something bad happened, so we write a rule. It was totally reactive. The new way, it's all about management. It's about proactively searching for things that could go wrong in the future and then managing that risk before it ever turns into an incident. It's the difference between looking in the rearview mirror and constantly scanning the horizon ahead. So, what is this new way exactly? Well, it's a whole philosophy and framework that's now required by huge organizations like the International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO. It's called the Safety Management System, or just SMS. Okay, I know, the official definition sounds a little dry and corporate, but the two words you really need to hear are systematic and managing. This is not some dusty rulebook that sits on a shelf. It's a living, breathing, organized process that an airline or any aviation company uses to actively manage its own safety every single day. I absolutely love this quote because it just nails the concept. Think of SMS as this safety engine. It's always running in the background, it's taking in new information, it's making small adjustments, and it's powering the entire organization's approach to safety. It turns safety from a static document into a dynamic, living process. So, if SMS is this powerful engine, what are its parts? What actually makes it run? Well, it's built on 4 essential components, or what we call pillars. You can think of them like 4 big gears, and for the whole engine to work, all 4 of those gears have to be turning together in perfect sync. And here they are: safety policy, safety risk management, safety assurance, and safety promotion. So let's break down what each of these really means. First up, you've got safety policy. This is the bedrock, the foundation of the whole thing. It's the official, signed on the dotted line commitment from the very top, the CEO, saying, hey, safety is our #1 priority and I'm accountable. It spells out who is responsible for what and sets clear goals you can actually measure. It's basically the constitution for the entire safety system. Next is safety risk management, or SRM. If the policy is the foundation, this is the proactive heart of the engine. This is the detective work. It's the part of the system where the organization is actively out there hunting for potential hazards, analyzing just how risky they are, and then creating smart controls to keep that risk in check. Okay, but you've put all these controls in place. How do you know if they're actually working? That is where the third pillar, safety assurance, comes in. This is the reality check. It's a constant feedback loop. Through things like audits and data analysis, it's always asking and answering one critical question. Are the things we designed to keep us safe actually working out there in the real world? And finally, we have safety promotion, and this one is so important because it's all about the people. This is the training, the communication, the constant effort to build a culture where everyone, from the top executive to the person loading bags onto the plane, understands their role and, crucially, feels empowered to speak up about safety issues without any fear of blame. All right, so we've seen the 4 parts of the engine, but how does it actually run? How does the system take some potential problem that's been spotted and turn it into a risk that's being actively managed? Well, the whole process kicks off with identifying something called a hazard. Now, a hazard
isn't an accident, and that's a key distinction. It's the potential for an accident to happen. It could be anything: a procedure in a manual that's confusing, a flight crew that's getting tired, a piece of ground equipment that's known to be a little bit flaky. Spotting these potential problems is the first critical step in the whole chain.
But here's the thing. Organizations find hazards all the time, lots of them, and they can't all be the number one drop everything and fix it now priority. So how do they decide which ones to tackle first? How do you separate a minor annoyance from a potential catastrophe?
They use a tool that looks a lot like this. It's called a risk assessment matrix, and it's actually pretty simple. It helps them weigh two key things. First, on the top is severity. If this hazard turns into an incident, how bad could it be? Minor or catastrophic? And then on the side, you have likelihood. How often might this happen? Is it frequent or incredibly rare? So you can see a hazard that happens frequently and could be catastrophic, that's a high priority risk you jump on immediately. This is how they focus their time and money where it's going to make the biggest difference.
Look, we can have the best policies, the smartest analysis, and the most logical charts in the world. But that engine we talked about, it won't run without fuel. And in a safety management system, the fuel is data. And that data comes from people. Which brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most important element in all of this: the culture. So, what is a safety culture? You can basically think of it as the personality of an organization when it comes to safety. It's the way we do things around here. Is safety something people just pay lip service to in meetings, or is it something they genuinely believe in and practice, even when nobody's watching?
And this gets to the absolute core challenge of the whole system. For the engine to learn and get smarter, it needs a constant stream of information about hazards, close calls, even small everyday errors. So here's the million-dollar question. How do you get people to voluntarily report issues, especially when they might have been the one to make the mistake? The answer is by building what's known as a just culture. Now, this is not a no-blame culture. It is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's about drawing clear, intelligent lines. So if someone makes an honest, unintentional mistake, the focus is 100% on learning from it, no punishment. If someone engages in at-risk behavior, like taking a known shortcut because they're under pressure, the response is to coach that person, and more importantly, to fix the system that's encouraging that shortcut in the first place. But, and this is a big but, if someone behaves recklessly and willfully violates the rules, there are consequences. Accountability is still there. It's this balance that builds trust, and it's that trust that gets the critical data flowing. So when you put all of these pieces together, the policies, the risk management, the constant checking, and the promotion of a healthy culture, you stop seeing safety as just a static checklist. So let's wrap this up. The biggest thing to take away is that modern aviation safety has made this huge leap from simply reacting to accidents to proactively managing risk. The SMS is this continuous learning cycle. You identify a potential problem, you assess how bad it is, you mitigate it, and then you monitor it to make sure your fix is actually working. The goal isn't zero risk. That's impossible. It's about managing risk down to a level that we all find acceptable. And the absolute key ingredient, the thing that makes the whole engine turn, is a strong, just culture that fuels the system with trust and open communication. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. This incredibly powerful, intelligent way of managing safety in a system as complex as aviation, where else could we use it? I mean, think about it. What about in our hospitals, in the financial system, or even as we develop complex new things like artificial intelligence? What other critical systems in our world could seriously benefit from having their own living, breathing safety engine?